Hi, if you like the video, please remember to subscribe.
Hi, I'm Rob from robnutphoto.com, and in today's little video I'm going to be talking about something close to my heart, an essential accessory for your Canon 600D T3i. Well, it's really for the lenses that you bought for your camera, and that is lens hoods, these little babies here. In the old days of film, everybody had rubber lenses, hoods on their cameras, but it kind of in the days of digital we kind of stop using them. Well, when I say that, amateurs have stopped using them a lot of time. Professionals, you'll always see them with lens hoods on their camera, and there's no reason really not to use them, because as long as you don't buy the genuine Canon ones, they're pretty cheap, and even the genuine Canon ones are pretty reasonable as well. So what do they do and how do you use them? Well, it's probably easier to answer that in reverse actually. What do they do? So let me this is the kit lens, the 18-55, and the lens hood's on backwards for storage. So when I want to use it, just take it off, something like a bayonet fit, turn it round, and that goes on there, like so. And what it helps to prevent is lens flare. So when you're taking a picture with your camera, and maybe the sun's over here, the sun's shining down. Now, if you haven't got a lens hood on, what happens is you don't want to take a picture of what's over here, but the light is affecting it. So the light's coming down, and it's hitting the element, and then it's bouncing around inside the camera and eventually hitting the sensor and affecting the photograph. And that can take a couple of different forms. The most common form that we kind of see and we often quite like is the lens flare. You see this in lots of science fiction movies and stuff, where you kind of get those discs across the screen, across your picture, or sometimes you get that line as well, and that's really obvious lens flare or lens glare. And sometimes when we take a picture and we see that, we go, oh wow, that's really cool, doesn't that look great? And often people will shoot almost into the sun, with say the sun's here and the subject's there, so you get this effect as well. Now, probably the more common form of lens flare that we get, that we don't really notice but can really affect our photos, is where it just decreases the contrast of the photo. So the light's bouncing around inside the lens, eventually hitting the sensor at the back, and the overall contrast is just dropped, so the photo just gets a little bit washed out. We might well think, well, what happened there? Now sometimes it can look cool when we want it to, but if we're thinking, well, I'm sure I was in focus, I got the exposure right, so why does everything look a little bit flat? And that could well be lens flare as well, caused by light entering the lens at an angle that we don't want. And so that's where the hood comes in, just by adding this little piece of plastic. It's really simple, honest. Like that. We're now preventing that light coming in from those funny angles and giving it lens flare. Now on a wide angle lens, the lens hood is pretty dinky, isn't it? It's pretty small, because it has to be, otherwise when you went to sort of 18mm you'd be able to see the edge and you would get vignetting, you get darkening, which wouldn't be very good at all. And the other really cool thing that lens hoods do is they're protecting the front of your lens as well. So if you drop it, it's going to hit on the lens hood first. The lens hood's probably going to break, but it's going to take the brunt of the collision. Or when you're wandering around in a forest or next to buildings and you're whacking it, you're hitting the lens hood, not the ends of the lens element. So you could argue they're better for protecting your lens than UV filters, because there's not introducing any glass or anything in between the lens to reduce the quality. So there we go. So that's the one on the 18-55, nice and dinky. And again, once you've finished using it, you just flip it round. Now you may well be thinking, oh wait a minute Rob, aren't you ruining your autofocus system? Well, the thing you've take to remember to do is, when you're storing your camera back in its bag, or you're not using it, is flick it to manual focus, so that when you come to take the lens hood off, the front element is moving freely and we're not damaging it. You don't want to be trying to wrench it off in autofocus. And then we put the lens hood on, and then we flick it back to autofocus, and we're ready to use it. We take the photos, and when we put it back in our bag, back to manual focus, spin it off. I mean, your bag might well be big enough to store the camera with the lens hood on, but mine isn't. So that's the 18-55. Let's look at the big bad boy now, which is the lens hood with a 55-250 f4 to 5.6. Here we go. So this one's a little bit bigger because the angle of view is a lot smaller because there's a zoom. So this one, we take it off, spin it round, Take that cap off. Look at that. It makes the lens look a lot bigger. But again, it's protecting the lens from any impacts, but more importantly, it's stopping any incidental light coming in, bouncing around that lens and spoiling the look of our photograph. Again, I've put it on, so I'll flick over to autofocus, go through, take my photos, do what I need to do. Then when I've finished, flick it back to manual focus, take it off, spin it round, flick it back on, lens cap back on, and it's ready to be stored in the bag. So there we go. That's my next essential accessories for your 600D T3i. Well, more importantly for the lenses, get yourself some lens hoods. They're really cheap on eBay. Just look them up. Lens hood 18 to 55, Canon lens hood 55 to 250, and for the price of a few bucks, you can protect your lens and improve your photography. My name's Rob from roblandphoto.com. Thanks for watching.